Welcome to the Beast Rider family where social media engagement is encouraged. I am your host, Ryan Sakamoto, and today we are going to be discussing whether or not the San Francisco 49ers are contenders or pretenders when it comes to the 2021 playoff picture. Right now, they're not looking so strong. Obviously, they lost to the Seattle Seahawks, and there is some debate as to who should be the starting quarterback. I don't think there should be a debate. I still think it's Jimmy Garoppolo if you're in it to win it this year. As you guys know, we have my good friend Randy Miller on the show, and he spoke with a well-respected GM, and he said he's a year away from being away. We talked about this all the time, and I agree with that. Now, is that to say that we don't think he's going to be an all-pro talent or a franchise quarterback? No, we're not saying that. But what we are saying is, look, if you actually take it for what it's worth and you insert Trey Lance as the quarterback, even if it was week one, right? Which people, oh, we need Trey Lance week. No, you don't. You don't. Because let's face it, if he was ready, Kyle Shanahan would put him in already. I mean, because think about it. Kyle Shanahan's job's he's on the hot seat right now too. So it's just like, come on, bro. Like, you don't think he wants to do everything in his power to kind of save his job? Yes, he does. So it's all about winning at the end of the day. Unfortunately, the Niners aren't just getting it done. Plain and simple, right? Now, they lost to the Seattle Seahawks. Is it to anyone's surprise that the Seahawks won? Maybe to some of you, but to here in the BWF, no. It's not a surprise. Why? Because the Seahawks always had the 49ers number one. Secondly, it's a divisional game. If you look at the divisional games, they're always going to be close. No matter what the records are, they're always going to be close because they mirror each other a lot of times and they know each other's tendencies. So when you face a team two times out of the year, obviously you're going to have a better grasp of a sample size to work from year in and year out. So to say that the Seahawks beating the 49ers was, oh my gosh, the season's over, they lost to a 3-9 team or whatever the case may be, whatever the record was. No, it's not. It's the Seahawks. Like, that's what they're known to do. When the Seahawks and 49ers play, it's going to be a dogfight. We see it in the AFC North. Look at the Baltimore Ravens. They just lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? And the Pittsburgh Steelers are, if you guys remember, they were in a tie with the winless Detroit Lions at the time. All right? They finished with a tie with the Detroit Lions, and they beat the Baltimore Ravens at home. All right? So there is a team that's first in the AFC North. And then you have a team that really is not going to make the playoffs. And they're kind of up and down. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you guys know what I had to say about the Pittsburgh Steelers. But they're not a team going anywhere. And yet they still beat the Baltimore Ravens. So again, you have to look at it for what it's worth. It's a divisional game, guys. Like, this is what it's all about. This is football. And on any given Sunday, a team can win. Now, with that being said, the 49ers did shoot themselves and made life a lot worse for themselves because of the fact, like, okay, what was that 70-yard run by Travis Homer off special teams? That's coaching. That falls on the coaching staff. They should have been able to, hey, look, we're playing the Seahawks. You got to be ready for everything and anything. And they didn't do that. Now, that was something that's an issue. Another issue that I have when it comes to the San Francisco 49ers is Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't live to play another down. You guys, if you guys follow me here on YouTube, if you guys don't follow me on YouTube, be sure to subscribe in the lower right-hand button and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, hit the like button. Engage with me here on this social media platform. We do a lot of cool things and run a lot of cool giveaways, which I'll be talking about in greater detail in this video. Or I should say live stream. But getting back to it, you really can't have to take it for what it's worth, right? Now, Let's turn the page. They lost to the Seahawks, all right? It was a good game. Let's face it, the Seahawks could have kicked a field goal. It would have been a two-possession game, so the game at the end, it could have been, would have been all for naught anyways, right? But they didn't opt to do that. So it's one of those games where it happened. Am I surprised? No, I actually predicted the Seahawks to win. Now, is that to say I'm a hater or, oh my gosh, why would you say such a thing? No, I call it how I see it. And I still see the 49ers making the playoffs. For all of you guys who say the 49ers will not make the playoffs, I am going to tell you why I think they will make the playoffs. And it doesn't have to do as much as them being in control of their own fate as it is to looking around the other NFL teams. Because again, and especially in the NFC, because again, when you take it for what it's worth and you look at the remaining strength of schedule with 5 games left in the season, in this 17-game season, you would know that the 49ers should make it, whether or not they win out or whether or not they finish 500 from here on out. Or you can't finish 500, but let's say they finish 3-2 or whatever the case, 2-3, whatever the case may be. I still think they're going to be strong enough to make the playoffs. And I said three NFC West teams are going to make the playoffs. That's the Cardinals are going to win the division. The Rams are going to finish with the wild card spot, and the Niners are the other one. Now, if the NFC West can come out with 2 of the 3 wild card spots, that's looking solid. That's looking solid. And the third one's really up for grabs. I mean, you look at the Minnesota Vikings. Well, the Niners hold a tiebreaker against them, and they just lost to the Detroit Lions. All right, so we're still talking about the Detroit Lions, but you see how it has a layering effect. Again, we're peeling back layers of the onion to get to the core, as I always like to say. It is what it is, guys. It is what it is. My man, J-Dub, Arizona Cardinal fan base says, sup, B-Dub, what's going on? He says, Lance needs more seasoning. Not all rookies can play right away. Give it time. Rodgers took 4 years, I think, to play the way he plays now. And he sits for 2 years. Yeah, at least 2 years' time. At least 2 years' time. Now, that's not to say that Trey Lance should have been used on 4th and 1 in yesterday's ball game. I think that was a total Bush League move by Kyle Shanahan not to put in Trey Lance in that situation. Why would you have Jimmy Garoppolo in that 4th and... No, why would you do that? You have Trey Lance sitting there. He has fresh legs. Use him. What are you protecting him for? I don't know. You play to win the game. You play to win the game. Hello? As Herm Edwards always said when he was the coach of the New York Jets, and I tweeted that out. JP says, division games are always competitive. Both teams are extremely amped. Yes, very true. My man, Tony Nagatani, part of the Beast Rider Plus and part of the BWF, always down for me since day one, says, do you think they will win their seventh seed playoff game? They're going to win it. They're going to be in the playoffs. The Niners will be in the playoffs. Now, again, I like taking it 2 steps. I'm always thinking 2 steps ahead. Again, I talked about week 13 2 weeks ago, and I tweeted this out, and I said why the Bengals and Chargers game was a huge matchup. Why? Well, because I cover all 32 teams. But aside from that, I knew that game was going to be a focal point and a possible tiebreaker. Look at the Los Angeles Chargers were not a team that was on the rise. They were a team that was descending, not ascending. Furthermore, they couldn't stop anyone in the run game. Now they have players like Justin Herbert. They have Austin Eckler out there. They have guys like Mike Williams. Davis? Why am I thinking David? I'm thinking Davis of the cornerback. Mike Williams. Of course, you got Asante Samuel Jr., who I thought the Niners should drafted, but he was out with a concussion yesterday. All right, speaking of concussions, Joey Bosa had a concussion yesterday. He was out after the first quarter. But on the flip side of that, you have the Chargers, you have the Bengals. Chargers are a team that's now I thought they were not going to make it. I'll be straight up with you. I always cross-check my beast receipts, right or wrong. You guys know when I get it wrong, you guys are surprised because you guys are used to me getting it right. Well, I think I'm wrong when it comes to the Los Angeles Chargers because I thought they were going to lose yesterday's game at home. On the road against the Cincinnati Bengals. They didn't. They beat down the Cincinnati Bengals in all 3 phases. I actually watched that game, and I'm going to watch it for a second time as I run my BWF grades. And what I saw was this. The Chargers, they threw downfield. They passed the ball downfield. They drove the ball downfield. You saw Justin Herbert using Mike Williams a lot. He took advantage of Mike Hilton. Mike Hilton, if you guys follow me here in the BWF, is one of the best slot cornerbacks in the entire NFL. He came from the Pittsburgh Steelers and used in a role much like K'Wan Williams is, much like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is from the New Orleans Saints, who I know is listed as free safety, but he's used much in that role as a blitzing type of an extra run defender, but can also cover from the slot. You look at a guy like Mike Hilton, right? He had a pick 6 against his former team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. His first pick 6 ever in his career, whether it be Pee Wee League, high school, college. I'm just running facts for you guys right now, right? We're going to break it down. Let's just go back, way back, all right? Mike Hilton had his first pick 6 of his career, period, against the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was abused yesterday's game when going up against Mike Williams. Why? Because the size does matter. Height does matter. And if you don't have the vertical to climb the ladder and catch at the highest point and winning those 50-50 balls, you're going to be in for a long day. And that's what you saw yesterday. You saw Mike Williams basically run to the numbers, box out Mike Hilton, and he got a big gain, right? And you see this And I think that's going to pose a problem for the flip side of that. You have the Cincinnati Bengals. They have a trio of wide receivers who I said in my pre-draft analysis, which is why I thought they would select Ja'Marr Chase, which they did, checking off another beast receipt. But you have guys like on the Cincinnati Bengals, I would say arguably the best trio of wide receivers in the entire NFL. I think they have arguably the best trio of wide receivers in the entire NFL. Let me repeat that. Because who do they have? They have Ja'Marr Chase, definitely playing at a first-team All-Pro level, definitely in line for Offensive Rookie of the Year, right? At least a candidate for it. You have Ja'Marr Chase. You have T. Higgins, right, who's, by the way, got hurt. He played hurt yesterday. He got hurt. You never want to see players go down, but that can be a plus for the 49ers, whose secondary is basically all for naught, especially at boundary cornerback. We saw Dio Lenore come in. We saw Deontay Johnson come in. Emmanuel Mosley was out. Josh Norman got beat for another touchdown. All right. So T. Higgins adds another dimension to that team because what does he bring to the table? If you follow me here in the BWF in my pre-draft analysis on T. Higgins, I said that he brought size. That's something that you can't coach. And I thought T. Higgins was a nice find for the Cincinnati Bengals. And then, of course, you have Tyler Boyd, who's arguably the best slot wide receiver in the entire NFL. Tyler Boyd's one of the most underrated players in my estimation, definitely in my BWF grading system. So when you have that and take that into account, and then you roll that in with Joe Mixon, who also was hurt yesterday. So there's guys that are banged up from the Cincinnati Bengals. So injuries happen around the NFL as I'm talking out loud here. Joe Mixon got hurt in yesterday's game when I was covering it. Tweeted it out. Michael Fabiano, fantasy football guys. He retweeted my tweet. He got hurt, came back in a few plays later, so he was good to go. I believe he then scored a touchdown, if I'm not mistaken. But then again, you take into account T. Higgins going down. He got hurt. Don't know, it was a lower leg injury. I don't know what happened with him. I mean, until this day, I don't know what the prognosis is on his injury. But he came back and played, got a big play down the seams, and he hobbled back into the huddle. So even though these guys are getting hurt, they're still coming back and playing and fighting through the pain. So T. Higgins looks a little more banged up than Joe Mixon is. And I would suggest, and if I'm thinking ahead now, here we are sitting on a Monday, I wouldn't be surprised if T. Higgins was listed as questionable for this game against the San Francisco 49ers. Now, do I think the 49ers are going to beat the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday? I don't think so. I do not think so. And with that being said, they're going to have 2 back-to-back losses, and I still think the 49ers are still going to make the playoffs. Again, you can't just look at the 49ers. If you're a team and you like the 49ers, again, I challenge you here in the BWF to look at all 32. That's why my logo is not just red and gold. No, it's blue, red, and silver, or platinum, whatever the case may be, right? You have to look at all 32 NFL teams in order to gauge how well your team is doing and whether or not they're going to make the playoffs. Look, name a team that's better than the 49ers right now, aside from a loss. Yeah, okay, they lost yesterday, but again, I already talked about this. It's a divisional game. They were expected to lose in the BWF. I called it. In fact, I thought it was going to be a bigger win by the Seahawks, to be honest with you. I didn't think it was going to be this close. But with Deebo Samuel out, with Fred Warner out, you have Dre Greenlaw out. Obviously, Jason Verrett hasn't been playing because he's been injured. So you're playing with backups at cornerback. These two teams know each other inside and out. Hey, you got to give it to the Niners, man. They came in Seattle. Seattle's not an easy place to play. I covered the 49ers, you guys know, as a beat writer. I traveled to Seattle, up in that press box, and that press box shakes. All right? It's shaking. That's how loud it is in Seattle. If you have never been to Seattle and never been to it's not called CenturyLink Field anymore, but you guys know what I mean. If you guys been to Seattle, been to a Seattle home game, you would know that it shakes. It literally shakes. That's how loud Seattle. I've never been in a stadium that loud. And I want to go to KC because I heard KC was louder. I don't know if that's true. I think it is, but I don't know. I heard KC is a little bit louder than Seattle, the 12th man. But anyways, here we are. JP Edward DiDio says the other teams don't have a quarterback as bad as Jimmy has been. The other teams have worse quarterbacks. That is true. That is very true. Ravi from the Beast Rider family says, I don't know if we can beat the Bengals next week. I don't think you guys will beat the Bengals. And I say you guys because I don't play for the 49ers. I like to stay objective, although I guess you can say I'm biased because I root for the 49ers, even though I don't root for the 49ers. But let's look at who they have, right? They have 32.5 sacks this year, all right? 32.5 sacks. You're playing with backup tackle Compton, right? Tom Compton, playing right tackle, inserted for Mike McGlinchey. You think he can go heads up if you line up Trey Hendrickson or if you line up Hubbard on the other side and you kind of mirror match, you're not going to see any mismatches there? Absolutely. I mean, Hubbard, I believe, has 7.5 sacks. I think Trey Hendrickson has, I don't know how much Trey Hendrickson is. Trey Hendrickson, if you guys don't know who Trey Hendrickson, he's a pass rush, double-digit sack artist for the second consecutive year, coming from the New Orleans Saints as a highly prized free agent, right? And he is a player who's basically filling in the shoes for Carl Lawson, if I'm doing this off the top of my head, because Carl Lawson was a free agent this past offseason, and he signed with the New York Jets, and then he got hurt, so he's out for the year, and they had to bring in someone else. But Trey Hendrickson, all right, I believe he's the first team All-Pro, right? Trey Hendrickson, if I'm not mistaken. All right, let's see what Trey Hendrickson has. I believe Hubbard has 7.5 sacks. I think Trey Hendrickson he's definitely in double digits. Let me just look at what he has. Let me pull it up here. I'm doing this off the top of my head. But I grade every single team, all right, and every single snap played. All right, so you look at guys, I talked about Mike Hilton, I talked about Trey Henderson, talked about Hubbard. Another guy that jumps out on film that no one really talks about is Larry Ogunjobi. He came from the Cleveland Browns. I always liked him. He's a good depth piece, okay? Me and Randy Miller talk about having good depth, not just naming players off a roster. Larry Ogunjobi's a good one, interior defensive lineman, all right? So let's go ahead and look. Let me just type it in here. It's loading. Bear with me, guys. Yeah, so Sam Hubbard has 7.5 sacks. Trey Hendrickson has 11.5 sacks. Again, I'm not a box score reader. I grade every single snap. And when you talk about pass rush specialist, Trey Hendrickson is that guy. He definitely can rush the passer. I believe he did get a sack. He did get a sack in my grading system yesterday's game, right? So against Rashawn Slater. If I'm not mistaken, it was against Rashawn Slater, who's having one hell of a year for the Los Angeles Chargers. So Trey Hendrickson getting it done. The guy is definitely a throwback type of player. I don't think he wears gloves. All right. He's a old throwback, kind of a Justin Smith type of a guy. Not that kind of a player. Like, he's not that type of an impact player in the run game and taking on multiple double teams. He's not that type of guy. But I'm saying from a pure throwback type of a presence, Trey Hendrickson is that guy from pass rush specialist. I like Trey Hendrickson a lot from that regard. All right, from that regard. And then you look at who they have on the back end in the secondary. I talked about Mike Hilton, but you can't sleep on Jesse Bates III. Now, he had a really bad game in my BWF grading system yesterday. He gave up 2 touchdowns. 2 touchdowns he gave up. One was basically a 3 flies up type of a deal where he was playing as the deep safety. He was in position, and then he just couldn't make the play on the ball. He also gave up another touchdown early on. So his BWF grading is hurting in week 13. I tweeted this out during yesterday's game as I was covering it. So you do have Jesse Bates there. He is more in line, kind of used like in the role of Jimmy Ward. Like, he used more as a single high free safety. The Bengals like to use a lot of cover 3. Sometimes they use cover 4 when they like to use Von Bell and switch them back. And he is covering as the 2 safeties on the back end. Von Bell, I believe, is number 42. So you have Von Bell there. You have Jesse Bates, number 30. And then you have the 2 corners there. The cornerbacks, the boundary cornerbacks is I mean, they're good, but I shouldn't say good. They're average. They're average at best. So I don't see anything when it comes to the boundary cornerbacks that's going to scare the 49ers. Now, what I will say is their defensive front 7 will scare the 49ers. It definitely will scare the 49ers, and I think we saw a recipe for success on how the Seahawks are attacking the San Francisco 49ers. Yes, we all know that strong safety Jamal Adams is going to move from the box, from his safety position down inside the box, because that's what he does best. I mean, that's kind of like, that's kind of common sense, right? I think that's kind of common sense. What's not common sense is the fact that how they're leveraging their splits pre-snap. You're seeing when Kyle Shanahan was trying to run those outside zone runs, Elijah Mitchell couldn't really get going. I mean, Elijah Mitchell could not get going. And again, that's just a team that knows another team within the division. That's just a team that knows another team within the division. Hey, look, you want to run outside zone, Kyle Shanahan? Okay, cool. And then you want to try to switch and go counter? We're going to have someone sitting home and being home because we're going to protect that backside containment. So we're not going to hit that back door and try to get upfield because we know you can run that play action pass. We know you can also run a naked bootleg if you had Trey Lance, which you don't. But there's a lot of different things you can do. But hey, we're going to be honest. We're going to play it honest, but we're also going to play it to where we know where you're leveraging their splits, where you're going to go. Because we know that you don't have right tackle Mike McGlinchey out there, and we know that your offensive line is not as strong as it once was. And in order to protect that offensive line, especially when you go up against a team like the Cincinnati Bengals, that's not looking good. Because all you have to do is have that safety, Von Bell in this case, play more in the run support and already be an outside contain. So where he's always in the position to where now Elijah Mitchell has to cut back inside. But then again, you already have help there. So you're not leveraging, you're not playing it overly aggressive, cross-facing to one side. Because again, you got to worry about the backdoor play. And that's what you saw with the Seahawks. You saw Jordan Brooks do it. You saw, obviously, Bobby Wagner, the heart in the middle of the defense, do it. But you have guys and you see it. I'm watching coaches film and I'm seeing this. I'm like, wow, well, this is something I predicted. This is something I thought would happen. And that's why I thought the Seahawks would win. Again, if you can't get the running game going, odds are you're not going to win. Furthermore, if Jimmy Garoppolo throws 2 interceptions, you're not going to win either. But again, there was turnovers on both sides of the football. It was really sad. I mean, Gerald Everett fumbling at the 1 yard line. What did he have? Like 2 fumbles and I don't know what else he had. He was kicked a ball up and and gave an interception to K'Wan Williams down in the red zone. Like, what are you doing? I don't know, man. I don't know. Gerald Everett single-handedly could have lost that game for the Seahawks. So it goes both ways. Walter C. Johnson from Facebook. Do me a favor. Subscribe to the YouTube channel in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and stay up to date on all things Beast. If you do, you'll be entered for our Beast Rider family giveaways. He says, just like we had the Rams number, the Seahawks had our number. Yes, absolutely agree with that. Absolutely agree with that. Jerry Yang, my man, says Burrow had a broken pinky too. Yes, he had his pinky. I went ahead and tweeted this out in real time during yesterday's game. Jerry Yang follows me. I said that it was swollen. It was going to swell up. I think it was ice. I thought it was dislocated. Dislocations are different from broken. I don't know if the prognosis is a broken finger. If it is, let me know. But I knew it was bad enough to where it was going to be swelling. You couldn't put a splint on it. I played with a broken, actually a fractured, a dislocated pinky, dislocated fingers, and you can't do anything. It's really difficult to do anything without having get some type of protection on it. So they tried to put tape around it. They also tried to put a glove on it. He took off the glove, so I can't do this. So you really saw Joe Burrow hurting on the sideline because again, that sprained or broken pinky had an effect on him throwing the football. And again, how is that going to affect the team moving forward? Well, he played with it and played pretty damn well throughout the game. Now, he did kind of have some balls that kind of tailor off, but at the end of the day, Joe Burrow actually played extremely well down the stretch. So, again, I think it's going to swell up even more so. I think today's going to be a big day where today and tomorrow is going to be the big days where it's going to swell up and then it's going to subside and kind of bring it down a little bit. Swelling of any type of a finger, whether it be a dislocation, if it's broken, that's a different story. But if it's just a straight sprain, that's different. So either way, Joe Burrow is not going to be sitting out this game against the San Francisco 49ers. That's wishful thinking. So he finished the game against LA Chargers. I expect him to fully anticipate him to play this week against the San Francisco 49ers. And I don't think the Bengals are going to lose to the 49ers. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not being a hater. I'm just keeping it real. Look, I call it how I see it. I thought the Niners were going to go to the Super Bowl in 2019. I thought they were going to start the season 3-0 when no one else didn't. They did. Tweeted it out. Check the Beast receipts. People were, oh, you're just a homer. Like, no, man, I keep it real. If I thought they were going to start 0-3 as opposed to 3-0, I would say that. Because my credibility is on the line. And again, I think it's funny on Twitter, and I tweet this out. There's a lot of people in the media who kind of just attack each other. It's really interesting to watch because it's almost like, whoa, where'd this come from? If you guys like what I have to say, do me a favor, hit the like button. You guys are watching this for obvious reasons, but also do me a favor and send me those super chat and super stickers. It really helps us to stay on topic, and I really do appreciate the super chat and super stickers. So if you're on YouTube, you can go ahead and do that in one of two ways. Basically, there's a money icon that you're seeing right now on your screen, whether it be on your iPhone, your Android, or your laptop, whatever the case may be, or a desktop. And there is a money icon. You guys can do that and send me some super chats. Also, if you follow me on Twitter, you guys can do so too. I have a money icon which links to my Venmo. Everyone has Venmo. Who doesn't have Venmo? And you can ask me a question, an in-depth question. If you guys want to know, like, hey, I want to grade on Emmanuel Mosley, for instance. So someone wanted to grade Emmanuel Mosley on Twitter. He sent me money through Venmo. And what happens is I'll provide him grades. Hey, look, I grade every single snap. I want every single snap. Well, here you go. Boom. And now he has it. So if you like the work, if you like the BWF grades, it doesn't matter if it's on the Niners, doesn't matter if it's on the Bengals. Hey, you want to grade on Tyler Boyd? I got you covered. You want to grade on Jesse Bates III? I got you covered. Trey Hendrickson, how is he in run fit as opposed to being a pass rush specialist? I got you covered. Larry Ogunjobi, I got you covered. Mike Hilton, I got you covered. So again, when I say I grade players around the league, I really do grade players around the league. Now, do I grade every single freaking player? No, that's near impossible. I'm not PFF. I'm a one-man show. All right. I'm like a one-man Costco. All right. So clam down on that. Let's clam down on that. But you guys get the picture. Big Dez, thank you so much for the super chat and super sticker, my man. I see you. He says, Niners special teams play has been horrible last two games. Kyle Shanahan has to give a damn about not only the offense, but all three phases. Please get this man a GM. Yes. I agree with you 100%. I think the special teams has been hurting the 49ers. I agree with you 110%. We saw that 70 yards by Travis Homer, who just basically the up back, boom, go, touchdown, home run for Homer. No pun intended. Special teams has been an issue. I mean, prayers up for Trenton Cannon. I hope everything's okay with you. I don't mean to speak, first and foremost, thoughts and prayers with Trenton Cannon. If you guys missed that play, that was an awful play where he was hit by friendly fire. He was making a tackle, and what happened was he hit Talanoa Hufanga's thigh and kind of snapped back his neck, and he was carted off the field in an ambulance, and that's very uncharacteristic unless it's something very serious. So my heart and thoughts and prayers go out to Trenton Cannon and him and his family and the whole 49ers organization. But getting back to it, I'm just going to tell it like it is. Trenton Cannon, he struggles, right? He could have lost the game for the 49ers, right? On certain occasions, whether it be fielding kickoffs or muffing kicks, and he's still playing special team. There's just things there that you have to really, and there's nothing against Trenton Cannon. I mean, hey, look, could I do it? No, I can't do it. I'm on the NFL, but I don't get paid to do it either, right? I get paid to do this. I get paid to analyze stuff, right? That's one thing that I will say about the San Francisco 49ers is they're so stuck in their shit. They're so stuck in their shit that they don't want to realize exactly, hey, look, man, this is what we are. This is who we are. Right? This is what we are. This is who we are. And again, if you want to talk about a return guy, right? Someone who can return kickoffs, return punts, why not just put Brandon Ayuk back there? I mean, the guy's not getting enough targets anyways. Why not throw Brandon Ayuk back there? And again, it's not as easy as saying, okay, let's throw Jerry Rice back there to return kickoffs and punt. No, it's not as easy as that. Although we did have John Taylor. That's another story. Which brings me to Jerry Rice. I know I'm going off topic, but since we're in the holiday season, my parents were going through their stuff and they said, hey, Ryan, come home. We have some stuff for you. We want to know if you still want it. So if you guys are into 49ers stuff, you guys remember this. This is Jerry Rice, all right? This is Jerry Rice, and if you guys remember, this is a starting lineup back in the day. I think it was, 92, 93, somewhere around there, with the old school helmets, all right? So they didn't have that gold trim along the helmet. This is an old school, literally, if you guys have this, you guys are definitely diehard fans, or if you guys are old like me and been around long enough. Yeah, so this is a Jerry Rice one. I'm showing you this because I remember I wanted this for Christmas. I didn't, and it's around Christmas time. I didn't get this for Christmas. This is all I wanted. This is all I wanted, and instead I got Ninja Turtles, which I love Ninja Turtles. I still love Ninja Turtles, but I really wanted this Jerry Rice starting lineup. Look, and the helmet comes off. You can move the arms. You know, it kind of reminds me of Home Alone when he used that BB gun to kind of throw off those starting lineups there. I think that's around the time that this one. I think it's the same year that this one came out. But I did get it after I got it for my birthday, right? Which I had to wait until August. So here's another thing. I got the Joe Montana one too. You guys remember Joe Montana, right? Here we go. The arm. You guys like that? He says hi. Hi, guys. Beast Rider's the shit. It's joking. All right. And then we have the most underrated running back in NFL history, Mr. Roger Craig. Call him 1K Craig. And, yeah. I don't know where these guys' helmets are. That's why they're not wearing a helmet. But, I do have the original starting lineup. So, again, that was a trio back in the day. I want to talk about glory days. That's glory days for you. And then here, look. Remember at Candlestick when they used to give out like really cool giveaways? They used to give really cool giveaways just for being, you know, a fan. This is how, if you guys remember the maroon uniforms, this is during the Terrell Owens days. With that Jerry Rice and the uniforms, you see it's not red. It's kind of like that maroonish color. They give this out at Candlestick. I forgot what game is this. But we had two. We had Steve Young. And we had Jerry Rice. So, I don't know what season that was. I think that was... Jeez, what year was that? I want to say it was like 90... I don't want to say it was like 98 or 99. I don't know. Anyways, I thought that was interesting. Jerry Yang says, you're right, B. Says a dislocated pinky looks like he'll play. Yeah, it is a dislocation. Again, tweeted that out in real time. I thought it was a dislocation. A lot of people got interaction on that. Anytime I see an injury in real time, I don't like to like, oh, it's definitely this. But I will say, hey, it's a torn ACL. For instance, Tre'Davious White. I said it was a torn ACL on Thanksgiving. It ended up being a torn ACL. My shit went viral. Same thing with John Mechie, right? John Mechie III, torn ACL, right? Again, if you follow me here on the BWF, you would know that the median age or the average age of ACL injuries occur between the ages of 15 to 25, all right? So ACL injuries occur more often than not, and more often than not, they're non-contact injuries. Now, the difference between an ACL, an MCL, LCL, these are all different types of injuries that you can have. And again, once you develop arthritis in the affected knee from an ACL injury, it's hard to come back from, and you'll never be 100%. You'll never be 100%. Now, can you play at a very high level? Yes, but you'll never be 100%. Once you have an ACL injury, you're not going to be 100%. In fact, more times than not, like I said, you're going to develop arthritis in the affected knee. So, with that being said, is that a knock on any of these players because you can't come back from ACL injuries? No, because the way it is today, maybe back in the day during Steve Young, Jerry Rice, and the glory days, yeah, ACL injuries were huge. It's like career threatening. It's like, bro, you're done. Your career's over. But the way the medical field has has evolved, the way everything is now coming into fruition in terms of like physical therapy and how to recover and all these scientific methods of what to use. It's a lot different. So, prayers up for John Mechie, prayers up for Jatavius White, who is my number 3 graded cornerback in my BWF grading system. I think that's going to be a huge blow to the Buffalo Bills. I don't think they're going to come out of that division because of the loss of Jatavius White. Now, he's just one player, but he's going to be a huge reason why they don't finish in the AFC East as the top team in the division. Because what he does, and again, I have grades on Tre'Davious White. You'll be like, oh yeah, do you? Yes. You want grades on Jordan Poyer? Yes, I got it. Micah Hyde? Yes. Stephon Diggs? Yes. All right. Getting back to it, Tre'Davious White did so much for that defense that he would mirror the opposing team's wide receiver at times. At times. He's not a Jalen Ramsey where you can put him every single play and just mirror like Devontae Adams, which, you can do. But he's the next closest thing. He's the next closest thing. And again, when you look at Tre'Davious White and what he brings to the table, if you grade every single snap played, you would know sometimes he did that. Would it be Devontae Parker? whether it be some of these other guys that he went up against this year, and he shut them down. I mean, he was playing at a first-team All-Pro level in my BWF grading system, in line for getting my vote for the Pro Football Writers Association as a first-team All-Pro. And that's just a huge loss for them. It's a very huge loss for them because, again, he does so much for that defense that gives them flexibility on the back end. What I mean by that is he essentially can neutralize one side of the field without being that shutdown corner. Like, he's not a Deion Sanders. He's not going to be that type of true shutdown corner. I mean, who is? No one's like that. But what he does bring to the table is, hey, you can take that one side of the field of playing a cover 3 or even a cover 4, and you can play a cover 6. A cover 6 is a quarter, half coverage. What you can do is you can dictate that coverage and say, okay, we're going to play quarter, half. And what we mean by that is the deep safety is going to play half of the field, a quarter of the field. The boundary quarterback is going to play the other quarter of the field, and that boundary quarterback on the other side of the field is going to play that half. Or you can do it inverted, however you want to play it. There's different types of ways you can do it, but you can do that with Jatavius White. Now you don't have Jatavius White. That's going to screw up everything because now the quarterback can make the proper reads and say, hey, look, Jatavius White's not there. So I know exactly how they're going to protect this boundary quarterback. They're not going to try to flip the script and have a lot of pre-snap bullshit. It's going to be straight up. You feel me? So a lot of stuff going on here with the Buffalo Bills and the AFC. We're talking about the 49ers, of course. I don't think they're going to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. The 49ers, I want you to prove me wrong. I want you to watch it and prove me wrong. Hey, Beast Rider said we're not going to beat the Bengals. Let's come out and shine. Everyone in the media is writing us off. No, I'm not. I still think you're going to make the playoffs, even with this loss to the Cincinnati Bengals. So whether you win or lose, I still think you're going to make the playoffs. I think you're that good. I think your guys are good. I think you guys can make some noise. But at the end of the day, it has to be consistency. Consistency is key in the NFL. Let's not get it twisted, guys. If you're not consistent, you're not going to be good. You're not going to be good. All right, so let's say once again, not a single holding call on Bosa. Ryan Bo says, yes, that's true. That is very true. But again, like I said, I cover every NFL team, and holding happens on all the top edge rushers. Look at Cam Jordan, right? Look at Danielle Hunter when he was healthy, right? And I believe he had a torn pec injury earlier this year. I think that was week 9 or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. But he got hurt early, playing at a first-team All-Pro level. You look at guys like T.J. Watt. He gets chipped at the line of scrimmage more times than not. And T.J. Watt is arguably the best in the league. You look at guys around, even Micah Parsons, right? Micah Parsons coming off the edge, screaming off the edge. He gets chipped, right, by the running back or the tight end and then gets held. So holding happens to all the top edge rushers. Aaron Donald. If there's one guy who can make a case for holding on every single play, it's Aaron Donald. All right. But that's down the interior. If you want to talk and do an apples to apples comparison on the outside, we can do that too. Look, holding happens all the time. All the time. It's just a matter of how much the NFL ref or the umpire, right? Because they're in charge of the holding penalties, right? You have the umpire and the referee. How much are they willing to allow, right? We're not talking about the down judge. We're not talking about the line judge. We're talking about, the guys who are right in the heart of that. How much are they willing to allow, when it comes to holding? Because holding happens on every single play. It's just a matter of how much they are willing to let it go on any given play. Generation Retro said the rest really hate us. Those non-calls killed us, among other things. Again, yes, I will say absolutely. It was bad. But again, it happens in every single game. There's always one or two penalties that you kind of look and say, what the right? What the F moments, right? We all have those what the F moments. Like, what the right? Like, are you kidding me? Right? We all have those moments, right? But I was always told something when I played, and even today, from coaches, players, whatever the case may be, talking to them, hey, look, we can't depend on the refs to bail us out. Yes, the refs make stupid calls sometimes, but it should never have gotten to that point in the first place. We can't rely on the refs, whether good or bad, making these calls to dictate the outcome of the game. Now, do they have an effect on the outcome of the game? Absolutely. I mean, just look at Jerome Boger, who in my opinion is the worst ref in the entire NFL. If you guys don't know who Jerome Boger is, just go to my Twitter. All right, I called it since 2012. that he was the worst ref, and he continues to be the worst ref in the NFL. I mean, if any time Jerome Berger calls a play, there's always a delay. The game's always about the officiating crew. They take like 15 minutes for a non-holding penalty or a holding penalty. They get it wrong all the time. Roughing the passer when it comes to Jerome Berger, oh, he's a stickler for that. I mean, you sniff on a quarterback, it's roughing the passer. I'm not joking. Matt Cook and Smoke Sports says, what up, bro? This is Matt. What's going on, Matt? How are you doing today? I see you. Ryan Bose says, I hated those uniforms. Yeah, he's talking about the 49er uniforms, the maroon ones. They're pretty bad. I thought they were ugly. I don't know why they did that. Matt says Jimmy has to go. Well, here's the thing with Jimmy Garoppolo is I know a lot of you guys say Jimmy has to go, but again, would the 49ers be in this situation with Trey Lance? No. That's for one. They wouldn't even be in the playoff hunt. 49ers fans wouldn't even have the ray of hope of sniffing a playoff picture if it wasn't for Jimmy Garoppolo game managing at quarterback. All right? And again, it goes back to this. Do you want Trey Lance inserted today? And if so, you should have made that move in week 1. But every 49er fan knows and understands this, that, hey, we know that Trey Lance is young, but Jimmy Garoppolo gives us the best chance to win today. And my hat's off to Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm not a Jimmy Garoppolo lover. I call it how I see it, one way or the other. Is there things he needs to work on? Yes. Should he be the quarterback of the 49ers next year? Depending, I would say no. I think you have to give it to Trey Lance. But for this year, yes. I think it's the right move to stick with Jimmy Garoppolo, at least until they're mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, because he gives you the best chance to win. He gives you the best chance to win. If you don't think he gives you the best chance to win, then I don't know what to tell you. Because Trey Lance, he looks lost. He looks lost out there. The two-pronged, I guess the double-edged sword of that is, okay, well then, is Trey Lance going to progress enough to be inserted as the quarterback next year? Is he ready? Well, he better be ready, because he had 1 year to sit. He had 1 year to sit and learn the playbook. So he better be ready. And if he's not ready, are we going to make the excuse, oh, well, he's just a rookie. This is his first year. Hey, look, NFL is not fair, and it stands for not for long. The way I see it is this. If Trey Lance is not ready next year, I'll give him the first 8 weeks of the season. I'll give him 10 weeks. I'll give him 10 weeks throughout the year. If he is struggling after 10 weeks, we are on to something. Now, the quarterback position is the hardest to play, in my opinion, outside of cornerback. I think cornerback's the toughest position to play in the NFL coming in as a rookie. But I will say this. I will say quarterback, when it comes to Trey Lance, the people I spoke with, would it be scouts? Would it be players? Would it be coaches? Former coaches? GMs? Former GMs? They all have the same logic that Trey Lance is just not ready. He's just not ready. And I haven't found one person who said he was ready. Now, do I think that he's not going to be a franchise quarterback next year? No, I think he will be a franchise quarterback next year. Or not next year, I mean in the future. I think he will be. All right. Here, we got another one. Big Dez, thank you for the plug, man. Another super chat. If you guys like the super chat and like my work, send me a super chat and super sticker. Again, all you have to do is what Big Dez is doing for the second time in a row. Thank you, Big Dez. I appreciate it, man. Really appreciate it. It makes my work really appreciated. I don't know what else to say, man, because money talks. Big Dez, thank you so much. He says, Jimmy, in one way or another, is going to let you down when it's money time. 8 years in league, and you still can't see underneath defenders. Man, this is so true. Big Dez made a great point, and I talked about this on Twitter in real time as we were covering the game. I said once he made Bobby Wagner look like an all-pro in pass coverage, and Bobby Wagner is a liability in pass coverage, not an asset. All right? I said it last year. I said it the year before, which is why I'm back in 2019. I said that Fred Warner was the standard, and he was. And here we are today, checking off another beast receipt. Real time to hindsight, as I always like to say. But let's get back to it. Anytime you have a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo who can't read underneath defenders, that's an issue. And again, I broke it down here on YouTube. In fact, if you guys want to see my game film breakdowns, I got you covered. I know you guys want my game film breakdowns. I did some. All right, I did some dating back to 2019. Y'all can remember Vernon Hargreaves' pick 6 back in Tampa. If you guys remember that interception, right? You guys remember that pick 6 back in Tampa? What happened there? I got you covered. Remember when Marcus Peters was on the Los Angeles Rams and he had the interception down inside the red zone? What happened there? I got you covered. Just go and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just type in Jimmy Garoppolo Beast Rider. You will see my game film breakdowns when it comes to Jimmy Garoppolo not knowing pre-snap from post-snap recognition, which leads to INTs. All right? When we're talking about underneath defenders in layman terms, we're talking about, let's say it's a cover 3 or a cover 4 shell. All right? So if you're playing a cover 3 or a cover 4 shell, we're not talking about cover 1 because that's strictly man-to-man, or a cover 0, that'd be man-to-man coverage. But let's talk about the cover shells, right? I always talk about cover shells here on YouTube, and I talk about it on Twitter, other social media, Twitch that we're on. Cover shells are basically zone coverages that every defensive scheme utilizes, all right? So the basics is you have a cover 2, cover 3, cover 4, all right? So a cover 2 is basically having 2 deep safeties, all right? And everyone plays their respective zones up front, right? So you're protecting the short area passes, right? And what you're doing is in that cover 2 is basically you're protecting, there is a soft spot, right? The soft spot's behind the cornerback and right before the free safety. So you can attack, if you're running a Tampa 2, you're playing it press coverage and whatever. Now we're going into schemes here. But a cover 2, whenever you hear about someone, Chris Collinsworth, what are you talking about? Al Michaels, or what are you talking about? Who else is out there? Charles Davis, Greg Olsen, Tony Romo. When they talk about cover 2 shells or cover 3, 4 shells, you're talking about the number of safeties who aren't in the box who are playing as the deep safeties, right? Or the back end safeties on the back end. So you have a cover 2 or a cover 4. Usually you have 2 safeties. Well, it is 2 safeties on the back end. All right. And then you have the boundary quarterbacks there. So if it's a cover 4, you have 2 safeties, 2 cornerbacks, and they're playing kind of in a press bail technique more times than not, looking through the receiver to the quarterback. All right, in a press bail technique with their back toward the sidelines. You can also have the underneath defenders, right? That's the shell, right? That's the outside shell. Now you have the interior, which is the underneath defenders. Now you have the curl flat defenders, you have the hook curl defenders, and that's mainly what it is. Now there's different concepts that you can use in different ROE or what I call rules of engagement, depending on the scheme and what's being asked based on down and distance, which you can kind of pick up if you cover all 32 teams and know teams' tendencies and biases. But in for layman terms, we're just going to keep it pretty simple, right? So you have the 2, if it's a cover 4, then you have 3 underneath defenders, right? That's 7. 4 plus 3 is 7, right? So it's a mathematical game on the back end, right? So you have 4. Thank you so much, Jerry Yang, for sending me that super chat. I appreciate it, brother. I know you guys want this insight, so I'm going to give it to you. So you have 4, right? You have 4, and I'm getting off track. The cover shell is basically 1, 2 safeties, and then 4 cornerbacks. And you have 3 underneath defenders. The 2 outside defenders are usually defending the curl flat. Now, depending on what you're being told or what you're being taught, if that running back comes out of the flat, let's say he's coming this side, that defender needs to come out and protect that. But he doesn't want to give up too much split leverage, because if that tight end is running fuga, which stands for fuck up the gray area, which I like to call it. I labeled it. I named it. Fuga is fuck up the gray area. If you see a fuga play where that guy's coming into the flat, well, now you're putting that curl flat defender in a bind, because now he's caught in a game of 2-by-1. What I mean by that, and by 2-by-1, is does he cover the flat because that cornerback is playing too far back, and if depending on down and distance, if it's 3rd and 2, he has to come up and take that flat, because otherwise that'll be a given first down, and that cornerback is playing deep because he doesn't know if that wide receiver is going to run a simple corner route, so now he has to protect that side of the field because he doesn't know if he's going to run outside the numbers. And then that leaves that hook curl defender that was supposed to defend the middle of the field. Does he take on and kind of rotate coverage over to what the curl flat defender was supposed to be doing? So there's a lot of different things there. But when it came to Bobby Wagner's interception, that was a simple shell look. And how does Jimmy Garoppolo miss that? He was just defending the underneath coverage that he was in, and he threw right to him. Kind of like Azeez Al-Shaair last week with the Minnesota Vikings when Kirk Cousins made the same mistake. And I don't know, Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo, same player. I shouldn't say that. Kirk Cousins is a little bit better. But similar types of interceptions that were made. I mean, how do you throw and not see that? I mean, it's a different thing if you have a strong safety coming up in the box and then leaking out. Like we saw a lot of times in the Kansas City game last night, in the Sunday Night Football game, as I graded that game. You see Tyrann Mathieu, guys like Budda Baker, they kind of inverse roll coverage, right? They kind of show you a look as a single high safety and then roll back. And you'll also see guys like the Steelers. They like to use Minkah Fitzpatrick. Usually he would just play the single high safety look, kind of like a Jesse Bates or a Jimmy Ward. But this year they like to use him as a curl hook or curl flat defender. So they like to roll a cover three, have Terrell Edmunds back there. And then what you're seeing is you're seeing Minkah Fitzpatrick post-snap, from pre to post-snap, being the single high. Now they rotate, and now Terrell Edmunds takes his spot, and now Minkah Fitzpatrick is now giving a cover three look because he's now the curl hook defender, and they're using Trey Norwood, who's playing the slot cornerback position. Now he's defending the curl flat, and now it just really freaks up the quarterback's progressions. It's a lot of interesting things that can happen, and that's why I just love covering the NFL, because again, how can you compare how good or how bad a player is doing if you don't know the dynamics of the other 31, right? It's really tough. It's really tough. Thank you so much, Jerry Yang, for the super chat and super sticker. I know you guys wanted this. So I'm going to give it to you 110% because no one breaks it down like this. I'm just going to say it. No one really breaks it down like this unless you're like Greg Cosell or who else is that? Baldy breakdowns, right? Baldy breakdowns. Brian Baldy, right? Baldinger. So yeah, I just like doing it. But this is how I grade players, and I grade every single snap played, right? And that's just talking about the secondary. That's not talking about how defensive line are leveraging their splits, how offensive line are leveraging their splits. Are they being able to reach block and hit the second level? Can that guy really hit the second level in space? For instance, let's talk about the 2022 NFL draft when we're talking about grading players here. I grade college players as well. Roll Tide, Roll Fan. My Bama got in. Holla at your boy. They just demolished Georgia, but they might have to face each other. But I'm hoping Michigan beats Georgia. I want to see Jim Harbaugh do well. Jim Harbaugh, if you're watching, you know I got your back, bro. Always. I'm very proud of you and what you have accomplished. But getting back to it, Evan Neal. He could be a top 5 left tackle in this upcoming draft, right? And when you look at what Evan Neal brings to the table, he brings athleticism. But can he hit that second level with ease? No, he does not. He whiffs more times than not. I think he's more based for a power-based run scheme. I don't think he could play in a San Francisco 49ers style of offense. Now, he's going to be flying off the board way before the Niners pick because they don't hold a first-round pick or top 10 pick for that matter. And the way I see it, Evan Neal is a good one. But then you have guys like Mississippi State. You have guys like Charles Cross, right? You have guys like, who else is out there off the top of my head? Offensive linemen. There's a lot of offensive linemen that are out there who add different dimensions to their games. But when you talk about Evan Neal, because some of you guys wanted my resources on Evan Neal, and look, he's very good as a power-based run blocker and player in pass protection, but he's not tailor-made for like a zone blocking. He's just not made that way. He's not built that different, you know? You can't plug and play a power-based run guy in a zone blocking scheme, and that's what you see with Aaron Banks. I said it in real time. Here we are sitting, I was doing a live stream, and once they drafted Aaron Banks, dropping back from, you know, where were they sitting at? Where were they sitting at? I don't know. They were, what is it, 42 to 46, whatever the case may be, to 48, or whatever they drafted Aaron Banks at. And I was like, nah, that's a bad move. They should have stuck and got Asante Samuel Jr., who now went one pick later to the Los Angeles Chargers, who was out with a concussion. Thoughts and prayers out to you. But I said, watch, he's going to be a healthy scratch. He's not going to be playing because he's not tailor-made for a zone-based run scheme. He's a power-based run blocker. He should be playing for the Baltimore Ravens or the Pittsburgh Steelers. He should be on that type of a team. And what I say about Creed Humphrey, all this time, people were like, oh, no, Creed Humphrey, he's overrated. And in real-time analysis, I said, every team that passed up on Creed Humphrey, he's going to be in line for all Pro Bowl bursts, and we're seeing it now. Creed Humphrey, I told you guys, Guy's a monster. Now he's ranked number 1 by PFF. Although he had a holding penalty in yesterday's game. But, yeah. I don't know. I don't have to tell you guys other than there's a lot of stuff around the NFL, especially when it comes to... Okay, now we're talking about the San Francisco 49ers. Let's stay on topic with them for a little bit. What do you guys want to know about the San Francisco 49ers? Look, the cornerbacks have been hit hard by the injury bug. Right? That's no secret. But, again, you can attack the 49ers offense. Dare Jimmy Garoppolo to beat you with his arm 30 times a game, and the other team will win 9 times out of 10. Dare Jimmy Garoppolo to beat you with his arm. Look, and take away George Kittle. That's another factor. If you look at George Kittle's targets, you can see there were lobs. If I'm a safety, I am going to trick Jimmy Garoppolo into thinking it's a cover shell, which we just spoke about how they like to use Tyrann Mathieu, Minkah Fitzpatrick, and I'm going to play it back and then roll up. If I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm like, okay, let's show a cover 4 look. Actually, let's show a soft cover 4, soft cover 4, meaning the cornerbacks are playing back. Let's show them a soft cover 4. Depending on down and distance, of course. You can't do it on like 3rd and 6 or something like that, or 3rd and 4, I should say. But let's show a soft cover shell. And what we're going to do is we're going to invert the coverage to where now the strong safety is going to play back. If you're the free safety, you can cover that deep range. And we're going to bracket George Kittle. So we're going to let George Kittle run down the seams, giving Jimmy Garoppolo the look that he's open, and then we're just going to jump that route. So he can't throw that lob pass anymore for first downs, coming out of the flat or running a post route or down the seams. If he lobs it up, hey, that's a 50-50 ball, and we should come down with that 9 times out of 10, because more times than not, George Kittle is more focused on catching the ball than he is seeing that safety seeking down on him like a missile. That's what I would do, because George Kittle's his security blanket. Without George Kittle, with Deebo Samuel out, George Kittle is the focal point, and I'm going to bracket George Kittle all day long. And if someone else beats me, so be it. If Brandon Ayuk beats me, so be it. But I'm not going to let George Kittle beat me, because I know that's Jimmy Garoppolo's security blanket. If he doesn't have George Kittle there, the Niners are in trouble. If he can't get George Kittle going, the Niners are in trouble. Take away what George Kittle did yesterday, and you think this game would be that close? No. So take away what George Kittle does best, bracket him, like they do with Darren Waller, right? Bracket him. You saw what the Pittsburgh Steelers did. They bracketed Darren Waller, right? Even though he went off and had a good game. But you see what they did with Minkah Fitzpatrick. And again, J.C. Bates can do it, coming from the AFC North. Again, it's a copycat league, and if you see how the Steelers played, I think it was the Steelers that played the Raiders on Monday night, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe it wasn't. But if you see how the free safety is being used in bracketing these top tight ends, would be Travis Kelce, Dallas Goedert from the Philadelphia Eagles, Mike Gesicki from the Miami Dolphins. Right? He gets bracketed sometimes. You can kind of see what teams are doing around the league. And this is nothing new. Look, this has been going on forever. This is nothing. It's not a secret, but it is a formula for success against the San Francisco 49ers. You stop the run with the outside zone, get that strong safety in the box, and protect the backside containment by having a guy staying home so they can't run against the grain. So now you're faking them. And then on top of that, so you're protecting both ends, right? You're protecting both sides. And then on top of that, then you have a free safety bracketing George Kittle down the seams, forcing another player to beat you with his arm, with Jimmy Garoppolo beating you with his arm, with another receiver getting open, whether it be Jawan Jennings, Brandon Ayuk, you name it, Kyle Juszczyk. I don't know. That's just my take. Jan Paul Edward Didio says, you and Kyler were high on Creed. Kyler was also high on Rondale and CD. Ball knows ball. Yup, exactly. Yeah, man. Rondale Moore, I said, was a baller in the second round. I say he's going to cause some damage. CeeDee Lamb, I also say was going to cause some damage. We're seeing it. It's crazy. I also said my draft crush, Justin Jefferson. I said I should trade down, got Justin Jefferson. Real-time analysis. Here we go in hindsight. These receipts check out, but hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. Jan Paul Edward Didios, who is the Arizona Cardinals loyal fan here in the BWF, or supporter. What's up, G? Part of Beast Rider family. Why are the 49ers using Garoppolo and RPOs and not using Trey Lance in that role? Simple. It's simple.
Because they want Jimmy Garoppolo to fail. I'm joking. They don't want Jimmy Garoppolo to fail. I don't know the question to that. That's a Kyle Shanahan question. And Kyle Shanahan, if I asked that, if you wanted me, Jeff, my man here in the BWF, big supporter. If you guys don't know, what's up, G? He does a lot of stuff on the back end for us, guys. If you don't, how do I say this? If you were to ask Kyle Shanahan this question, he would probably give you a snark remark. Like, oh, well, what do you know? What plays are you talking about the RPO? Like, what are you talking about? Just like when I asked the question on Dante Pettis right after he was drafted, spoke with Dante Pettis, right? Being a 49ers beat writer, my office is at Levi's, obviously. That's where we're all there on draft day. Sitting there, we're asking questions. I'm looking at the film like, man, he got abused at Stanford, bro. In that Stanford game, couldn't get off the line of scrimmage. I'm going to ask Coach on whether or not he thinks he can do that at the next level. If he can't do it at college in the Pac-12, what makes you think he can do that in the NFL level? And Kyle Shanahan comes at me and says, moments after drafting Dante Pettis, he says, well, that's one of the things we liked about Dante Pettis. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, okay, well, we're going to see. We're going to see real quick. Where's Dante Pettis now? Not in San Francisco. Holla at your boy. So everything that Kyle Shanahan says, you take it with a grain of salt, and half of it's bullshit. Because he doesn't want to give you anything, and he shouldn't give you anything. I mean, if I was Kyle Shanahan, I wouldn't want to give the NFL media any ammo. So I'm just going to lie to your face. For instance, if there was a question that was asked on making the playoffs, hey, so Jimmy Garoppolo struggled, what types of things are you doing to kind of ensure that this game against the Cincinnati Bengals, who is arguably a better defense, how you're going to account for that style of play, knowing that Jimmy Garoppolo struggled against a basic cover shell defense where he threw multiple interceptions, one to Bobby Wagner. Oh, well, Kyle Shanahan probably like, well, it's a different defense. I wouldn't say, I think both defenses are good. I don't know what he would say, actually. He'd probably say both defenses are good. We're moving on to Cincinnati. And, those interceptions were bad. But, we're moving on to Cincinnati. He'll say something like that. Anyways, thank you so much for the super chat and super stickers. I love doing this. I gotta head to the gym in a little bit. But I am definitely drinking my pre-workout right now because I gotta hit the gym. But no, if you guys have questions and you have super chats or super stickers, send them my way. I'm more inclined to stay for a little bit. And I'm just going to, man, these starting lineups are pretty cool. But yeah, if you have any questions, shoot them my way. I'll be sure to answer them the best I can. Thank you so much, Jerry Yang, for the super chat and super sticker. I appreciate it. Thank you, Big Dez, for the super chat and super sticker. I really appreciate it. Actually, you gave me two. Big Dez. Let's just go ahead and talk about the Cincinnati Bengals because there's not a lot of people out there who cover the 49ers, even though I cover all 32, that know so much about this. Again, I like to talk about all 32 NFL teams, so there's no guesswork here. I can talk off the top of my head about Cincinnati Bengals. We've been doing this entire podcast or live stream, basically. We're just going to continue on because I just love talking football. But, yeah, the Cincinnati Bengals are not a team that you should lay down on. They lost 41-22, but again, they were down 24-0, all right? So for those who didn't watch the game, that's why you guys have me. The Bengals were down 24-0, scored 22 unanswered points, went for a 2-point conversion, didn't get it, and that's when the team faltered. So they have some fight with them at home. So even though if they're down by 22 points, they can still, or 24 points, they can still make a comeback, and we saw that. And again, anytime you have Joe Burrow at quarterback, who Phil Simms said had Joe Montana-like qualities, and Phil Simms would know, he played quarterback, top 10 New York Giant of all time. If you guys don't know who Phil Simms is, played with Lawrence Taylor. He said that the guy that he would compare the next Joe Montana or a player that's similar to Joe, he shouldn't say the next Joe Montana, but the same qualities that Joe Montana had, skill set, Joe Burrow has it. And I would agree with that. As a kid growing up, obviously I'm like, 6 or 7 years old, but I still watch film as I got older of Joe Montana. Even though I had front row seats and watching the game, I didn't know what the hell to look for. I just know, touchdown. Okay, everyone's cheering. Woo, touchdown. Yeah, we scored. Oh, we winning. Oh, I know numbers. Yeah, oh, we have more numbers we have a higher number than the other team. Oh, we're winning. But I didn't really understand the schematics of stuff until obviously as I got older. But looking back on game film, I would agree. I think Joe Burrow's comparison would be Joe Montana because again, he doesn't do anything like he doesn't have the extreme like arm strength that you would have from like a Pat Mahomes or like a Lamar Jackson or Aaron Rodgers or something like that. But he just gets the job done. He's like a perfect West Coast style of offense if Bill Walsh was to plug him in their system. He's cerebrally smart. I would say he's top 5 cerebrally gets it in the NFL from the quarterback position. So Joe Burrow is one hell of a player. We're going to see on Sunday how well he can play. Obviously, he's damaged goods right now with a dislocated right pinky, but on his throwing hand. But you have guys like T. Higgins who's banged up. We don't know. Like I said, I think he's going to be questionable for the game. He got banged up. Joe Mixon was banged up but came back in the game. You have guys like I said, Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, of course, who I thought was the next Reggie Wayne in my pre-draft analysis. People were laughing at me. Here we are today. Who's laughing now? These guys are absolute ballers, right? And you got to give credit to that offensive line, right? You look at their offensive line and what they have going for them. And again, you see what they're doing on the offensive line. And it's really interesting what they're doing because, again, what they do in the offseason, right? So you have Jonah Williams, Roll Tide rolled first-round pick. I believe he was number 14 overall or something like that. He was definitely a top 15 pick. I think he went outside the top 10. Jonah Williams from Alabama. Saban was really high on him coming out. Very smart. He's the blindside left tackle. You got him. Obviously, you look at it. You have Riley Reif, who they brought in. I think he's injured, but Riley Reif was brought in to play right tackle. And here's the thing with that. During the pre-draft analysis, in my pre-draft analysis, if you mention why I said select Jamar Chase, and people were saying, no, they're going to go after Penei Sewell, and I said, no, they're not, is because they brought in Riley Reif in free agency, right? And Riley Reif can play tackle. He can kick into guard, right? So Riley Reif is a seasoned veteran, and that's why I thought, hey, look, if you're looking at the board and you're picking the best player available, that's my ideological approach, right? From scouting perspective, from an analysis perspective, I never like reaching for need. I don't use absolutes very often, but I never like reaching for need because you diminish the value of the pick. So even though, let's say you have Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, right? Jamar Chase. Now, do you go and get another wide receiver? I think in that case, you can have kind of an argument there because no, you have a trio of wide receivers. You're already set. Let's go in a different direction. But if you have a generational talent like Jamar Chase sitting there, yeah, of course you're going to take him over a guy like Penei Sewell because Jamar Chase is generational talent. Here we are sitting in hindsight, but in real time, people are like, no, they should go Penei Sewell. It's like, no, they should go after Jamar Chase, bro. Trust me on this. And they will go Jamar Chase from what I've been told and what I see and how I do their thinking process. Like, you have to think like from their perspective, like what they would do, right? And I take it and I run with it. So you look at the 49ers, they don't hold a first round pick. Well, what do they need? Cornerback, all right? So in the second round, depending on who's there, do you reach for a cornerback just because you need a cornerback? No, you don't. You take the best player available. Right? And that's what you have to do. You take the best player available. Now, need does play a role. So there is some, you look at your horizontal board, then you look at the vertical board, and then you look at the tiers, right? Because you have to project exactly where these players are going to come off the board or fly off the board. And depending what teams do, if a team is going to trade up, like let's say the Baltimore Ravens trade up, right, back into the tail end of the first round, and they want another wide receiver to pair with Marquise Hollywood Brown and Mark Andrews. Well, they're going to go get that guy, even though they got, but they just drafted Rashad Bateman from Minnesota in the first round last year. But, he's been kind of injured, right? So it's kind of like, okay, well, if they move up and then now they got a wide receiver, now we're looking at it and be like, okay, shit, we don't have Jameson Williams anymore. We can't get Jameson Williams obviously going to fly off the board in the top 10 picks. He's not going to be there. From Alabama. But let's say, you look at a guy like Johan Dotson, right, from Penn State, right? You look at guys like Traylon Burks from Arkansas, right? Like, let's say those guys are sitting there and he's a scheme fit and you're looking at it and like, oh, well, he fly off the board to the Baltimore Ravens. Now what do we do? Well, now we have to play a game of musical chairs and say, okay, now we have to reassess what we want and what we need and see if the value lines up, right? So this goes on every single day, every single pick, right? You can't just sit there and be like, oh, this player is good, and look up YouTube highlights and be like, oh, well, this player is good, they should draft him. Same thing with Denzel Mims. There's a lot of people with Denzel Mims. When Denzel Mims came out, and I said, this guy's going to be a bust. Why? Because all he can remember is 7, 8, 9 bangers. This is my pre-draft analysis, and I was having arguments with people. I'm like, look, this guy cannot run a full route tree. And again, if you're looking at it from a scouting perspective, he takes too many false steps when he tries to run other routes other than the 7, 8, 9 banger, which is basically deep routes, right? Corner, post, fly routes. And he can't do it. He can't do it. And where's Denzel Mims now, right? So, yeah. Don't just look at highlights because, again, it's the highlights. It's like people who go on Instagram and show their life story, like how their lives are so cool. Well, that's just the highlights of your life, bro. Like, you're not going to show the bad shit. You're not going to show people who are like, oh, man, like, I just got rejected by a female. I just got rejected by a dude. Or if you're a girl, dude, whatever case may be. You're not going to post that. You're going to post the highlights. Oh, man, like, look, here I am look who's here, man. Jimmy Garoppolo. Oh, look at Kyle Shanahan is over here eating at Luna Mexican restaurant, which he always does. Wow, cool. Like, no, it's just the highlights, bro. That's just the highlights. Chino Lee says, hey, B, since it appears Debo helps the overall 49ers offense succeed, why didn't Kyle play Trey Lance to throw off Seahawks? I don't know. That's a good question. And his answer would be this: because Jimmy Garoppolo gave us the best chance to win. A generic response, but you can't argue with it if that's how he truly feels. Jimmy Garoppolo gave us the best chance to win. Now, is that true? Is that how he truly feels? I don't know. But I do think they're kind of going to try to drive up Jimmy Garoppolo's value. So again, look at it from this perspective. If he's already set on Trey Lance not playing and rolling with Jimmy Garoppolo, and Jimmy Garoppolo balls out of control, that increases Jimmy Garoppolo's trade value. And again, Jimmy Garoppolo is already sitting duck, right? He's like that employee at the company who 2 years ago was number 1 in sales and is now not number 1. He's maybe top 5 in sales, and his draft value is kind of going down a little bit. But if he takes him on a deep playoff run or does well from here on out, then you can sit and teams can look, oh, well, look at what he did in his last 8 games to end the year. And that's the whole body of work you're going to go off of. We know we know what he can't do. Let's focus what he can do, and let's see if we can maximize those strengths and see if he can kind of game manage the team that we envision moving forward. Look, Jimmy Garoppolo is a game manager. Could he go to a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers? Obviously he could, because what are the Pittsburgh Steelers doing? They're trying to go back to the throwback style of play. I think he would be perfect for the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? There's a lot of guys who went on and got traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers, Vance Mcdonald being one of them. Vance McDonald was a second-round pick. I believe he was number 55 out of Rice University, drafted by Trent Baalke, had a great Senior Bowl, then got shipped out. Remember, another thing is the Steelers almost stole Andy Lee. Andy Lee almost got shipped out. Well, I shouldn't say shipped out. He signed a contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then the 49ers decided to match it, right? So it was a tendered contract. The Niners decided to obviously match the contract, keep Andy Lee in San Francisco. So there's a lot of, if you go back throughout history, you can find those golden nuggets there, guys. And again, this is off the top of my head. I just love talking football. But yeah, there's a lot of guys who went. Killer Witherspoon is now on the Pittsburgh Steelers, for those who don't know. Not doing so hot, but he's in Pittsburgh. One would think he would be playing over James Pierre, who's arguably the worst. No, he is the worst. He's the worst defensive back on the entire team. And I called it out since day one. Steelers fans, oh no, what are you talking about? He's an undrafted rookie free agent, and he's a baller. I'm like, no, he's not a baller. There's a reason why he's undrafted. And here we are today. Gives up touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. I can see Jimmy Garoppolo going to the Steelers simply because look what they're trying to do. Like they solidified their offensive line, or at least tried to, with Kendrick Green, the starting center, rookie. They got Dan Moore, blindside left tackle, right? Inserting him for Alejandro Villanueva, who went off to the Baltimore Ravens, right? You lose Matt Filer, who was your right tackle. Before that, he was an interior guard. Now shipped off to the now went to bolted to the Los Angeles Chargers, right? Marquise Pouncey retired, right? So you have a whole revamped offensive line, and Ben Roethlisberger has already said he's not going to be returning next year. So that was huge news yesterday, and you have to look for the future. Now you have Pickett, the Pittsburgh University of Pittsburgh quarterback, and could he stay in his hometown? And could the Steelers make a run on him? I mean, they're right there. They know a lot of people at Pitt. Could he be the quarterback of their future? And they invest a first round pick on him? I don't know. Time will tell. But Jimmy Garoppolo, I can definitely see going to a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers because, again, they have Najee Harris there, my draft crush. And he's a beast, right? He gets hit well beyond the line of scrimmage on initial contact and still makes positive plays happen. So they have a lot going on there against the Steelers. If you guys don't cover the Steelers or don't watch the Steelers very often, you guys would know that Juju Smith-Schuster is out. If you guys don't know that, you know that now. Deontay Johnson had a good game yesterday. I believe he had 2 touchdown catches yesterday in yesterday's game. He's a guy that I said when I was writing for Sports Illustrated for the Pittsburgh Steelers after leaving the 49ers and covering for Sports Illustrated, the Pittsburgh Steelers for Sports Illustrated, that I said was a blessing in disguise that they got Deontay Johnson, right? And that was due to Coach Drake, right? Coach Drake was the one that saw him at Toledo and really picked up on that small school prospect. And he saw he talked about Jerry Rice comparisons, right? Not saying he was the next Jerry Rice, but talked about how a kid coming from a small school can have that type of an impact. And we see it with Deontay Johnson. Thoughts and prayers with Coach Drake, the wide receiver coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But you can talk about any team that Jimmy Garoppolo would be a good fit for, and you can probably plug and play. I mean, look, Houston Texans, right? He has ties to Nick Caserio. Nick Caserio was with the New England Patriots. I already talked about this last year, right? How trade rumors were going out. Like, Nick Caserio, if he wanted to trade Deshaun Watson and in that package deal, bring back Jimmy Garoppolo in that package deal, right? But Nick Caserio is going to want all-pro talent in return. He's just not going to want draft picks. You can't just give up draft picks because when you give up a player like Deshaun Watson, you're going to want guaranteed investment in return, and draft picks are no guarantee. We all know this. Solomon Thomas, right? Even though he's having I guess you could say a breakout season for him in his respective career, but with the Las Vegas Raiders, but I mean, Eric Armstead, Rashawn Woods, right? Quam Harris, R.W. McQuarters, Reggie McGrew. You guys are wondering, like, what am I talking about? I'm talking about the first round picks who are first round busts, right? The list goes on and on and on, right? Or if you want to go second round pick, Sulleem Rasheed, right? Sulleem Rasheed, I believe he played for Alabama. What happened to him? Justin Smiley, right? I believe he's another Alabama guy, if I'm not mistaken. There's a lot of guys who just didn't pan out, right? And for whatever reason, whatever the case may be, whether it be coaching, whether it be scheme, guys just never panned out. And there's those guys that you find in the 5th round, like a George Kittle, that pan out. So again, it's a crapshoot at best. But when you do your due diligence, more times than not, you're going to be hitting rather than missing. That's why you're in these, or that's how it should be, because you're in these positions to make those decisions. So you better get it right. You get paid to get it right. Brian Chappell from Facebook says, when will the 49ers be looking for a new coach? Wow. That's a great question. I don't think it's going to be this year. I don't think it's going to be next year. Why? Because Kyle Shanahan drafted Trey Lance, and I think you have to see that project through. I think you have to see that project through before making any other power play moves, I should say, right? It's a power play move to get rid of the head coach, especially when his offense is dictated based on the personnel that he has in place. If you were to bring in another coach and he doesn't want to run that zone blocking scheme, he wants to run a power-based run scheme, or he doesn't want to run certain or teach certain techniques with their positional coaches, that's going to screw up everything. And that will definitely hurt Trey Lance's progress. So now you're setting Trey Lance back not only 1 year, but then 2 years, because now he's learning another system. Dating back to Alex Smith, when he had all those offensive coordinators in such a short amount of time frame throughout his career, before Jim Harbaugh came and really established himself as that guy to kind of help him progress under Greg Roman. That we also what happened with Alex Smith. So the same dynamic can take place. Again, anytime you're a quarterback and you're learning a system and you have to learn another playbook, that's like learning an entirely new language. It's like learning a foreign language and then it's like learning Spanish and then learning French and then learning French and learning Japanese. It's two playbooks are not the same. Now, even if you picked apart certain plays and say, hey, look, what do you like to do, Trey Lance? Let's sit down. I'm the new coach of the team. What did you like to do? What do you feel most comfortable doing under Kyle Shanahan? Like, which plays did you like? Like, what, did you like throwing to the tight end a lot as opposed to the slot receiver? These are different things that you look, and he will give you an answer. Yeah, well, yes or no. But then again, it's like, okay, well, we're learning a new system, so we're not even going to do that. Then Trey Lance would be like, what the F, bro? Like, okay. Like, deer in the headlights. Runa Pereira, my man, says, why does Jimmy laughing get out after losing a game? I hated what I saw last night at the presser. Look, was I happy when I saw Jimmy Garoppolo laughing at yesterday's presser? No, I'm not. I would be freaking pissed off. If I was a player in that locker room, I'd be like, what the Fred Warner? I haven't spoken to Fred, but I'm assuming he's the team captain. He'd probably be looking at this. I don't want to put words in his mouth. We'll take Fred Warner out. Any player who saw that would be like, what the F, man? Like, how are you happy? I know when I played after a loss and I got my asses kicked or whatever, if we lost, I wouldn't be laughing. And someone was laughing. There were people who were laughing in that locker room. I'd set them straight. As a team captain, I would set them straight. I'd be like, look, you're laughing. You want to be here? Go home. Like, we don't care. We don't need you. Straight up. Like, you think it's funny that we lost? We're gonna see in practice tomorrow how funny it is when we run all those suicides. When we're doing bear crawls 100 yards down the field. You ain't gonna be laughing. No one's gonna be laughing. It's the captain's responsibility to set the tone. And I'm not saying that they don't do that, because obviously they do. But if I saw that, speaking for Jimmy Garoppolo, which I did, when I played in high school, that doesn't fly. Like, I shut that down real quick. And anybody who knows that knows how I get. You know what I mean? Especially after a loss. Everyone's on edge. And if you're not on edge, you're not on the same page as us. So you better get on the same page or you're not going to be here for long. Straight up. And as a team captain, it was my responsibility to make sure everyone was on the same page. It's one of those things where it's up to you to set the standard. Everyone looks up to you. The coaches, the players, they all voted you team captain for a reason. So if you're not going to be the one as the tone setter, then why do you have that C on your chest? Why do you have that C on the chest if you're not going to be the one saying, look, man, this is not how we do things here. You want to do that? Go to our rival, man. Go somewhere else, man. We don't need that here. That's just bad vibes, bro. We want good vibes here. We want positive vibes. You know what I mean? If you're going to be laughing after the game because of the fact that we lost by 15 points, which rarely we did, but let's say we lost by, 6 points, 5, 6, 7 points, one possession game, and you're laughing, and then you go home as if nothing happened, well, you ain't going to be playing. And the coaches know that, because the coaches don't like it either. I bet you Kyle Shanahan don't like it. You think Kyle Shanahan would be laughing after his presser? Oh, man. Yeah. Wow. What's going on here? But in Jimmy Garoppolo's defense, I don't think he was laughing because he didn't take the loss personal. I think he was laughing because, again, from Jimmy Garoppolo's perspective, you have to look at it like this. He's going through some shit right now. Like Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, if you're in Jimmy Garoppolo's shoes, you aged 25 years because your foot's already out the door. You know the team doesn't want you. You have already someone there in waiting. I mean, think about it. Think about it, Waruna. If you were at work and they brought someone in to take your job next year, and you were number one in sales, I like using sales pitch, even though I know you're not in sales. How would you feel? And then, where would your mind be? It's hard to focus on football when you have this other distraction. And I don't care what anyone says. You are distracted because you are damaged goods and you're a scapegoat. You are the scapegoat. If the season falls, look what's happening. The fans will ride you to the ground. The fans will ride you to the ground because you're the scapegoat, Jimmy Garoppolo. It's your fault we're not getting it done because we have all the other pieces in place and all you have to do is not screw it up. But then again, the flip side of that, Jimmy Garoppolo, if he wanted to, he can come back and say, hey, look who's injured. I don't have my number one running back, Raheem Mostert. Deebo Samuel was out yesterday. We don't have our heart and soul of our defense in Fred Warner. We don't have our secondary. Jason Verrett's out. Emmanuel Mosley got out yesterday. So, again, it's the ultimate team sport. And if you don't have the players to come up and be the next man up by having good depth, you're not going to get it done no matter who's behind quarterback or who's under center, I should say. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. But I didn't like what Jimmy Garoppolo did laughing. I think that was I don't know. I wouldn't be laughing. I'd probably go if I was a captain, I'd probably pull him off the presser and be like, "Look, bro, like why are you laughing, bro?" No, I'm joking. I wouldn't do that. That'd kind of be like you kind of take him. You had to take him aside and say that afterwards. But be like, "Hey, man, I really didn't appreciate the way you handled that press conference. You kind of were nonchalant about it, like laughing, like, bro, we just lost a game, bro. We're fighting for a playoff hunt. Like, where's your head? Like, is your head in the game or what? Like, what's going on, bro? Like, talk to me, man. Talk to me. Like, let me know. Let's communicate. Let's be on the same page. Like, what's up? Like, what's on your mind? You know, help me understand. Help me understand what you're going through right now, bro. I know it's tough. I know you have a lot going on off the field, but man, we really can't have that here. We really can't have that here. Chino Lee says, do you believe any team would trade for Jimmy Garoppolo or possibly wait for us to cut Jimmy? You know what? That's what I like to call a leverage point, right? There's a leverage point there because at the end of the day, what are you going to do there? Are you going to go ahead and trade Jimmy Garoppolo when teams already know that he's already 1 foot out the door? In fact, he has 1.5 feet out the door. It was 1 foot out the door before the season began. Now the season's kind of taken a downward spiral turn, and they could lose 2 games back to back. And now he has 1.5 feet out the door, and they can possibly go 6-7. If I'm a GM, I'm looking at it 2 ways. I'm gonna call up John Lynch and be like, you know what? I think if I'm GM Kevin Colbert of the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm calling up John Lynch and being like, hey, look, man, like I understand that you guys want to trade Jimmy Garoppolo, but this is what we're going to offer, and it's non-negotiable. All right? We're not going to give you a first-round pick. We're not going to give you a second-round pick. We're going to give you a third-round pick. Take it or leave it. And if the 49ers say no, then so be it, because odds are you're not going to get anything better than a third-round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo, especially when, oh, you know what? I take that back. You might get a late second-round pick. Let's say a late second, early third. I would say a late second, early third. And the reason I say this is why there's really no clear-cut number 1 quarterback in this upcoming draft. It's not the draft class where you have guys like Joe Burrow or Tua Tagovailoa where they're hot in spot coming out of college, right? So again, you look at the NFL draft and then you look at what's in free agency, and then you're looking at it from a GM's perspective and saying, okay, look, well, there's no clear-cut number 1 quarterback in this upcoming draft. Do we think we can work with a pick quarterback, right? Do we think we can win with that pick quarterback? Do we think we can win? Sucks that Bryce Young's not out because he's only a sophomore, just like Will Anderson, roll tide roll. But you know, Bryce Young's a Heisman winner. He's not even going to be eligible for the draft until the following year. So when I look at it and I'm looking at it and I'm saying, hey, you know what? Look, let's see where our team is. Is our team in a win now position if we have a game manager? Yes. Okay, well, let's go after Jimmy Garoppolo. Let's give up our second-round pick, even though it's in tail end of the second round, because odds are if we go after a quarterback, it's not going to be a guy who we can get up to speed in 1 year's time, right? And usually, if for any young quarterback, doesn't matter where you're drafted, it's going to take a 2 to 3 year progress, right? I think. I don't think you can just insert a guy and expect wonders. I don't think he's going to turn a 1-15 franchise into a 6-10 team. You can't do it by yourself. It takes a whole team effort and collective effort. So it all depends on where your team is set up today to kind of foresee tomorrow. And again, I think that's what you need to do. So if you're looking at the Houston Texans, I mean, they have a number of different holes, right? They don't have Mark Ingram there anymore. They shipped him off, right? You don't have guys on that team. You have Brandon Cooks. That's how Brandon Cooks. Who do they have? They don't have much, man. They don't have much. And so if you were to bring in a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo there, yeah, he'd be a stable locker room guy where people and players can gravitate toward. But he's not going to be a guy that's going to be like taking you guys to like a 10-7 team. Like he's not going to do that. But if it goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are kind of like right now, if you were to ask me where they would finish, I think I see, I don't know, an 8-win team, 9-win team maybe. 8 or 9-win team, and you have a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo next year, and you have Juju Smith-Schuster, who hopefully he comes back next year. Remember, he turned down money to return to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think he got an offer from the Baltimore Ravens, and they opted to get, I believe it was Sammy Watkins from the Kansas City Chiefs. But you have him there, right? If you have Jimmy Garoppolo in Pittsburgh, I think that's a good scenario for him, because now you have Pat Freiermuth, who they drafted in the second round. I was really high on him. Thought he would projected he would be drafted by Pittsburgh in the second round, and I thought Najee Harris would be projected to be drafted in the first. Both things happened. So you got some rookies in place. Obviously, you have Kendrick Green, who I spoke about, the offensive center, replacing Marquise Pouncey, who retired, and then you have Dan Moore replacing Alejandro Villanueva, who is with the Baltimore Ravens, of course. So you have pieces in place, and then you solidify that. You double down those gains. You have a first-round pick, and you're going to have to re-sign Minkah Fitzpatrick. I think that's a given. That's first in order of businesses. He's going to help reset the market along with Tyrann Mathieu, who are both free agents this offseason. Actually, no. Is it true? Is Minkah Fitzpatrick a free agent this offseason? I think he'll be entering a contract year. I think he's a 2017 or 2018 first-round pick by the Miami Dolphins. Anyways, he'll be resetting the market for the free safety position. Obviously, we saw what Harrison Smith got. So, yeah, there's a lot of different things that we can go in when we talk about where Jimmy Garoppolo fits or doesn't fit. I think Pittsburgh would be a prime example of a team that's kind of ascending based on a game manager. Yeah, you need a game manager sometimes in certain aspects because there's not too many Lamar Jacksons, Pat Mahomes, Dak Prescotts. There's not too many of those guys out there, man. So you kind of have to take what basically kind of like the logic of taking what the defense gives you. Like you got to see what's out there. You got to see what's in the draft is worth developing a player better than the instant gratification that we're going to get with Jimmy Garoppolo. I think you have to weigh the two outcomes. And that's what a GM does. I think that's how they look at it is they look at where their team is today to kind of foresee how the team is going to be built tomorrow. Because again, if you're not taking two steps ahead and you'll have any type of a 5-year vision or a 3 to 4 year outlook, you basically are playing it blind, and you never want to do that. It's like playing a game of poker without knowing what's in your hole cards, and how are you going to play the flop and the turn in the river without knowing what's in the hole? You're just going to play it blind and bluff you're all the way down to the river? No. Cry me a river, right? Like Justin Timberlake always says. So, a lot of different things. Yeah. Eric Clark says, he's always smiling, Playboy Jimmy. J. Paul Eber DeDio says, Jimmy is in F-it mode. Yeah. JP says, do you think Sean Payton can help Jimmy? Yes, absolutely. Sean Payton can make any quarterback. He's a quarterback guru. He can make any quarterback into a really good quarterback. And I think that's what Jimmy Garoppolo is. I think he's a serviceable quarterback who you can win with. He's not a top 15 quarterback, but he's like a 20 top 20 quarterback. Yeah, top 20 would be okay. Top 20 quarterback. He can turn him into a top 12 quarterback, right? I wouldn't say top 10. Maybe top 10 depending on who he has around him. If Alvin Kamara is healthy, that's going to do wonders for freaking Jimmy Garoppolo because he never had a running back quite like Alvin Kamara. Let's be honest about that. He never had that type of a player. And then you team him up. You know, they have Traquan Smith out there. Obviously, Michael Thomas hasn't even played this year. I mean, I think he's in the doghouse. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Michael Thomas after being offensive player of the year, but whatever. I think that if the pieces are in place, obviously they already have Quan Alexander, so they know what they're getting. They've done it before. They've got former 49ers players from that Super Bowl run before, right? And the pieces are in place for them to succeed. That defense is still good. They have Marshawn Lattimore, who's, I think he's overrated, but he's okay. They have Marcus Williams there. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, or CJ Gardner-Johnson, however you want to pronounce his name. He's there. There's a lot of guys there on the Saints off the top of my head that, hey, look, you have a winning formula there. Right? And anytime you have Sean Payton there, they obviously have Jameis Winston, right? So they could be fighting for, who's going to be the QB1. I think that'd be a good camp battle. Then you can use Taysom Hill and kind of pull back the reins on Taysom Hill and use him like the Swiss Army knife that you want him to be used as, right? I don't think he's going to be the future quarterback. I think we all know this. But what he does add to the table is kind of like that Deontay Harris added dimension as the X factor, right? So you add these missing parts and then you kind of, like, again, from a GM perspective, right? You're looking at it from like a Mickey Loomis perspective and you're looking at it and saying, hey, look, like, all right, let's see what we have here. Can we win with a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo? Can we get back into the playoff picture? Yes. Now, will he take you over to the top? Will he kind of be the guy that wins it for you? That's a different story. He hasn't proven it, so I'm going to say no right now. Oh, man. Alejandro Malanche from YouTube says, so Niners should draft corner this upcoming draft with their second round pick. What do you think of Martin Emerson, Kyle Gordon, and Jermaine Waller. I have not actually studied any of those three players yet. I am going to do that. I do have grades on other players as I continue to grade college game film. One player who I said my preseason analysis was ESPN ranked their top 100 players. Okay, ESPN ranked their top 100 players, and they certainly listed and dismissed DK off the list. And I'm not talking about DK Metcalf for the Seattle Seahawks. I'm talking Darian Kendrick, the Clemson product who transferred, who was in the love shack of Dabo Swinney, or he likes to call it, but I call it the doghouse, but he calls it the love shack, and then transferred over to Georgia, and they had the number one defense now. Now, he did struggle against Bama. I'm not going to question that. But Darian Kendrick, to me, is a top flight cornerback in the entire NFL in this upcoming draft. You have guys like Darian Kendrick. Obviously, you have Derek Stingley Jr. out of LSU. And again, we're basing on Derek Stingley's production in his true freshman season, because again, he had one hell of a 2019 campaign, got injured the last couple of years, and so here we are today. But Derek Stingley's intangibles and skill set, I think he is going to fly off the board as a top flight cornerback, arguably the number one cornerback off the board, kind of like what Jamar Chase was, another guy from LSU who didn't even play last year, and be the first wide receiver taken. So that being said, we have a lot to talk about, but yeah, I haven't done any research on those guys. I will do research on those guys. If you want grades on those guys, send me those super chat and super stickers, and I'll be sure to get those out to you. Obviously, also, if you have an iOS device or an Apple or an Android, whatever the case may be, on Twitter, I have linked to my Venmo account. Just click on the money icon, and if you want to support the work and support the live stream that you see here, if you don't want to send me a super chat or super sticker and link it to YouTube, and everyone has a Venmo, just go and follow me on Twitter. It's twitter.com/BeastRider. You guys can follow me there, and there's a money icon. If you wish to donate money to the BWF and myself, you can do so there. So again, there's a lot of different things that we can talk about here. It's really interesting how the NFC is shaping up and how the draft is really shaping up as we look forward into the future. A lot of guys, Aiden Hutchinson came out of nowhere, right? Aiden Hutchinson came out of nowhere. He is now playing he might be the top edge off the board. In my opinion, he should be the top edge off the board in this upcoming draft. I think he's the most fundamentally sound, even more fundamentally sound than Kayvon Thibodeau of Oregon. Now, Oregon's Kayvon Thibodeau reminds me of kind of like a Danielle Hunter, right? He has that elongated wingspan or arm length, as if you will. He can really rush the passer, has a nice get off. So you're going to see that type of twitch when it comes to Kayvon Thibodeau's game. But Aiden Hutchinson, I think he's not you can plug that guy. I mean, you want to keep him outside in a 4-3 defensive end position, but you can plug him as a 3-tech defensive tackle if you want to bulk him up to. I mean, the guy's just a beast. And so I think he should be the top edge in this entire draft class when you look at it. But again, scouts love height, weight, speed. We see it year in and year out. We see guys get drafted based on their height, weight, speed. Now, I'm not saying Kayvon Thibodeau isn't that mindset, because again, you look at guys like Rashawn Gary, right? Rashawn Gary was drafted, and look at his measurables. Oh man, the guy's going to fly off the charts. Oh, he should be a first round pick simply because of Rashawn Gary. But it took him a few years to get up to speed, right? Before coming into his own. So you see guys who test well. But again, for me, if I'm looking at it from a scouting perspective, I'm looking at film number one. Film number one to me will always be the number one barometer of how I gauge a player, because at the end of the day, the film never lies, right? What you see on film never lies. You can't say you did or didn't do anything. It's all on film. It's like CCTV. You guys ever watch See No Evil? Same thing. It's, although it's not grainy, right? You get the picture. So it's all in there for you. And that's why I think, again, if you grade every single snap played, you can kind of learn and appreciate some of these other players who maybe people don't recognize them as household names. And that's why I do it with guys like Jesse Bates III, guys like Bobby Okorik. I never pronounce his name, but the Colts linebacker, Bobby Okorike, right? So you have guys like that, like Jesse Bates, Okorike. Jonathan Allen wasn't a household name, but he was a riser in my system. Now we're seeing why, playing at a first-team All-Pro level in my BWF grading system. So Jeffrey Simmons, another guy who's playing really well this year. Game has kind of tapered off in the last few weeks, but he's playing really well. Jeffrey Simmons, obviously for the Tennessee Titans. I want to say Justin Simmons. He's a household name, obviously for the Denver Broncos, but I always get those two guys mixed up. Jeffrey Simmons, Justin Simmons. Then you have Isaiah Simmons from the Arizona Cardinals playing really well this year. So there's just a lot of guys who I don't think get the hype that they deserve. And when you watch the dynamics of all 16 games throughout the week, you can kind of pick up on little things and say, hey, look, man, this guy should get some love, man. I think this guy should get some love. Just like Jimmy Ward. I always thought Jimmy Ward should get some love, and here he is today, and he's graded out, as one of the top 5 safeties in the NFL, and people were saying, oh, well, he doesn't get his hands on the ball, he doesn't get interceptions. So what? Like, okay, that's one knock on him, but he's always sound in coverage, doesn't miss an assignment, sound tackler in space, right? Gets everyone lined up in their proper place, right? On the back end as a quarterback of the secondary. So exactly, like, I don't know. That's for a different subject. And now people are like, oh yeah, Jimmy Ward, he's playing balls out, oh yeah, against the Rams. Whoa, woo. I knew Jimmy Ward can do it. It's like, no, you didn't, bro. Like, you didn't really think he could do it. Let's be honest about that. And that's another thing I hate. I hate using the word hate, but I hate it when people are triple Fs. FFF. An FFF is a flip-flopper fake. They say stuff in real time, and in hindsight, they flip off their analysis. It's like, stick to your guns, bro. Like, I'm not saying get it right 100% of the time, but I challenge people to screenshot what people say in real time. Do it to me, too. I don't care. My beast receipts check out, and I'll call myself out when I'm wrong, which is not a lot of times, but, I'm not God. I don't get it right 100% of the time, but I get it right 80% of the time. I challenge you guys to take screenshots of people's tweets and then cross-check their analysis in hindsight and be like, hey, look, you never said that. This is what you said back on blah, blah, blah date. I'm telling you. Then you can learn to appreciate exactly whose analysis is true and who to follow in real time. Because again, you guys are following me for my forward thinking. You're not following me for stuff that's in hindsight. You're following me for stuff in the future. Your questions that you're asking me is what's going on in the future. That's the standard that I have built the BWF on. And I hold myself to that high standard, because again, I'm not afraid to put myself out there. And I'm not afraid to clap back at players when they clap back at me. I'm not afraid of anything. If I keep it unfiltered 100 all the time. If you don't like it, like I always tell the players, if you don't like it, play better. Right? My job is to project and predict. Your job is to perform. You want to talk about the 3 Ps? We talked about the 3 S. Let's talk about the 3 Ps. Project, predict, perform. You don't like it? Play better. You don't like it? Play better. And coaches that I spoke with say, hey man, keep doing what you're doing, because you ain't wrong. There's a reason why players get mad at you, or some players get mad at you. Other players love you for it. Right? So if they ain't hating, you ain't doing anything right? You're doing something wrong. So that's how I see it. Bunk says, seems like I missed a lot. You did miss a lot, but it's okay because it's recorded, so you guys can see it after it concludes. Luke Michael says, do you still talk to Grant? I have not talked to Grant in a while, but yeah, I should hit him up. I'll probably hit him up later today, see how he's doing. I know he's really busy doing his own thing, and so is myself, but yeah, I do talk to Grant. I haven't talked to him in a while though. Let's see. You guys have any other questions that you guys want asked before I let you go? Oh, here we go. Sorry, the Illuminati asked, Beast, don't you think the Niners have to look at a possible Aaron Rodgers signing? 49ers Super Bowl can be closing. Have to take advantage of all your blue chip players while they are performing at a high level. This is an interesting take. I mean, they already screwed it up with Tom Brady, right? When Tom Brady wanted to play for San Francisco and Shanahan said, nah, sorry. You all saw how that went and drove to crap. I think if Aaron Rodgers wants to come to San Francisco, you do it. Aaron Rodgers, if you're listening, Beast Rider says, come home to San Francisco and help us get that quest for 6 and end that. End that bad boy, because with you at the helm, we're instantly become the number 1 favorites in the NFC outside of the Tampa Bay Bucks. So what a storyline that would be. You miss out on Tom Brady. He goes out and wins the Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Bucks. Not the Tampa Bay Bucks, the Tampa Bay Bucks. Wow, that's a Freudian slip. And then you have, I'm going to call it the Tampa Bay Bucks now. Anyways, and then you have Aaron Rodgers coming to San Francisco, another hometown team, going back to his hometown team that I grew up rooting for. And then he wins and ends the quest for 6 in San Francisco. For San Francisco. I would love that. I would say yes. I would say yes, 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 yes. But first, they would have to get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo, use that savings, and plug that into Aaron Rodgers. And I think Aaron Rodgers would do it. I think Aaron Rodgers would absolutely welcome a play for the Bay. I think he would welcome a play for the Bay, and I would absolutely love that. I think, wow, if Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers, would you guys like that? Because you guys have Trey Lance. So would you say, yeah, well, we drafted Trey Lance and we're on that Trey Lance hype train because we drafted him, we gave up all those draft picks for Trey Lance. I think Trey Lance should be the guy next year. Or do you put that aside and that emotional cognitive thinking aside and say, hey, look, yeah, but Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. COVID toe, whatever the case may be, he's still Aaron Rodgers. And we can win with Aaron Rodgers. And if we're in the win now mode, we need Aaron Rodgers. That's a good play. That's a good play. Jesse Warren says, is Norman that bad or did he just get caught in bad moments? Josh Norman, if you follow me in my BWF grades, is the worst defensive back on the team. Period. He's like James Pierre for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's horrible. He's like Denver Broncos Kyle Fuller. Horrible. The worst on the team. And I'm naming teams because I cover every freaking team. I'm telling you guys. Horrible. Josh Norman is good for two things. One penalty and one peanut punch fumble. That's it. And maybe one touchdown given up. He's horrible. Josh Norman is horrible. And it's funny when he celebrates after an incomplete pass when literally DK Metcalf had a step on him and it would have been a touchdown if it was an accurate throw down the seam, or not down the seam, but on that fly route, I should say, right? From the numbers. Outside. That would have been a touchdown. DK Metcalf knew it. He was laughing about it. And Josh Norman goes like this after. Like, bro, like you didn't do anything, bro. Like, what did you do? Like, you were in coverage and you got beat. Like, I would never do that. I wouldn't go like, yeah, like, that's right. Like, or have my hands behind. Yeah, I handcuffed you, DK. It's like, no, bro. Like, that was just a bad throw. And you got bailed out. So Josh Norman, yes, you're good for one forced fumble, which is crucial in any ball game because it helps with the plus minus and a turnover differential, which is good in a deep playoff run. But you also give up a huge penalty, whether it be defensive holding, whether it be a personal foul, or a pass interference penalty, or a touchdown. And if I'm any team, I'm attacking Josh Norman every single day. I'm going to be attacking Josh Norman every single play. And he gets beat on double moves. Look, he'll play with a sizable cushion and still get beat deep. Whether it's a cover 3, he always plays with a sizable cushion and he'll get beat deep. Just put T. Higgins on Josh Norman and that's a mismatch all day. You put Tyler Boyd on Josh Norman outside, even though he plays from the slot. Tyler Boyd is too quick and too big for Josh Norman. You put Jamar Chase on there? Yes. That's a mismatch right there. I'm talking about it right now. Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow know this. They're probably running up some plays right now where they're saying, okay, let's line up Josh Norman on Jamar Chase. And even though we have a single high help on there, I'm going to throw it to you outside the number to where only you can catch it and make a play on the ball. Because we already know that Josh Norman can't make a play on the ball and win those 50-50 balls. And if he tries to, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do a fake. We're going to do a double move. We can run a choice route. We can do a combination of different things to where that safety doesn't have enough time to get over and play that help defense. Because what we're going to do is now we're going to plug the tight end Uzuma. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. The tight end running down the seams. So now it plays Jimmy Ward in a compromised position to where he has to play the seams and he has to play honest and he can't give help. We're going to run a lot of fuga, guys. Period. Jamar Chase in for a big game. So if DeMeco Ryans, if you're listening, I'm telling you this, you got to run cover 4. You got to run a cover 4. You got to protect your boundary cornerbacks because they're going to get exposed playing against this trio of wide receivers. It's not a good mismatch. It's not a good matchup for you. And I'll tell you what, if Jordan Willis doesn't get home, which Jordan Willis, in my opinion, is one of the top pass rushers on the entire team with the San Francisco 49ers, if Bosa, Willis don't get home, you're in for a San Francisco treat yourself. Because if you run cover 3, or if you even run cover 1, or even cover 0, bringing down the safety and having no one as the MOF, middle of the field, it's going to be a long day for you. Because again, if you expect to play cover 1 defense with Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, if healthy, and Jamar Chase. That's all day. That's all day. And again, if you guys are just tuning in, which a lot of you are, like Bunk is, T. Higgins was injured against the Chargers, and he gutted it out. He played, but again, he was hobbling. He was hobbling, and I think he's going to be listed as questionable for the game. I think he's hurt. I don't know what his injury is, but it looked like a high ankle sprain, possibly, but he still played through the pain. So with that being said, I don't know what's going on with T. Higgins. Maybe someone can tell me here if you guys look it up and Google it, but I'm doing a live stream right now. But if I was to take a guess, I think it's an ankle sprain or a high ankle sprain, somewhere in that regard. But look, if you have a trio of wide receivers like they do, that's arguably the best in the NFL. You're in for a big game. And again, on the flip side of that, Jimmy Garoppolo, you better make the proper reads, because Jesse Bates the third, he can come down in the box and show you a cover 1 or a cover 3 look, come down to the box and rotate Von Bell as the single high, and then you have Jesse Bates covering that hook curl or curl flat defender, depending on what they're trying to do to confuse you. So yeah, it's trouble. And then you have the pass rush with, like I said, Larry Ogunjobi, who they brought him from the Cleveland Browns. You have guys like Trey Henderson, who they got from the New Orleans Saints, replacing Carl Lawson, who then went to the New York Jets and Robert Saleh's squad. And then you have who else do they have? Sam Hubbard, right? Who has 7.5 sacks this year. I mean, the team has 32.5 sacks. I mean, what would you think is going to happen? Like, come on, especially with that offensive line with Tom Compton at right tackle, they're going to feast. They're going to try to feast at least. That's what they're going to apply the pressure, yo. So you better have people other than George Kittle. Because again, like I said, if you're just tuning in, I'm going to bracket George Kittle. I'm going to apply pressure to where now I'm also bracketing George Kittle. Whether I'm playing inside or out, leveraging my splits inside or outside with the underneath defender, and then having help over the top, so that way you can't just lob it up and throw it, like, 3-5s up, like a backyard game of 3-5s up. It's just not going to happen, because we're going to pick it off. And when you take away Jimmy Garoppolo's security blanket, now he's flustered. Now you can't make that hot read. You don't have George Kittle there. You don't have Deebo Samuel there, who might be out for the second game, right? We don't know what's going on with Deebo Samuel, but he has a groin injury. I told you about how serious that could be. So you don't want to rush him back too early, because that could be career threatening, or not career threatening, season threatening. So, it's just not a good matchup for Cincinnati. Now, after saying this, watch the 49ers freaking just beat the Cincinnati Bengals outright. But you know what? Any given Sunday, right? But I just don't see that happening. And prove me wrong. Prove me wrong, San Francisco. I would love to see that. Jets gang says, how about Zach Wilson game versus Eagles? I didn't actually watch that game yet. I am going to do that. That is on my to-do list later tonight. I do want to see that. I did get my info from Connie Carberg. If you guys don't know who Connie Carberg is, she's the first NFL female scout. She's part of the BWF. You guys know who Connie Carberg is. And she was the first NFL female scout for the New York Jets. I was keeping up with her Twitter feed. I did watch some plays. Zach Wilson throwing that touchdown to Elijah Moore. I did like how Zach Wilson, as I was kind of scrolling through some of the highlights. I don't like going through highlights. I like grading every single snap play, which I will do, but I liked how he was going through his progressions. He seemed a little bit more calm, cool, and collected than in early on in the season. So you can kind of see that maturation process coming into play. But I have to look at the coach's film to really dictate, was he making the proper reads in hindsight, right? Because again, you got to think about it from Zach Wilson's perspective. He's seeing this in real time. He doesn't get the luxury of going and bringing it back tenths of a second. Oh shoot, like it was a cover 3, then they rolled into a cover 2. Like, oh man, like I didn't see that one coming. Or like, oh man, it was actually not even a cover 4 at all. They had the slot cornerback and the curl flat defender playing man coverage, and everyone else was in cover shell. And then that whole player looked like he was playing a cover 1, but they weren't in a cover 1 at all. He was just there as the robber. Like there's different things that you can kind of play off of it. So it's not fair to criticize Zach Wilson without really getting the coach's film, and then I can put a fair assessment on it. So I am eager to see the coach's film on Zach Wilson, because I'm a huge Zach Wilson fan. Coming out. Again, the beast receipts, that's one of my beast receipts. Do they check out? Does that one check out? Does that one not check out? Time will tell. I think it's fair after 3 years' time to kind of put a grade on that. But I said, hey, man, this guy's the best quarterback in this entire draft class. I thought Trevor Lawrence was going to be a bust. People didn't like that line, or some people agreed, and others were like, no, like, how can you say he's going to be a bust? I'm like, man, I think Trevor Lawrence is a bust. So here we are, and if you were to tell me, and I said Mac Jones is the most NFL pro-ready quarterback. So we take that all into account, and here we are today. So, yeah. I'm eager to see that. Bunk says, I believe Aaron Rodgers sat for 3 years, so why not? A bonus is that now Lance learns behind the future. Very true, Bunk. Very true. This is all very true. And I'm not going to say I disagree with that. I think that is 100% true. All right, guys. Well, that'll be it for this podcast. I got to get going. I got to get my gym gains in, and then I got to run my grades. I got to watch the Monday Night Football matchup between the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots. I'll be covering that game on Twitter. If you like what I had to say, please hit the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner of your screen as you stay up to date on all things Beast in real time. Obviously, I run cool giveaways, so be sure to share, hit the like button, and share this to all your family and friends as we keep things hot all day, every day here in the BWF. Thank you so much for tuning in. That's it for today. Happy Monday morning quarterback, everyone. Beast Rider, out.